Welcome to the Spiritual Roundtable, where we're about to break down, discuss, unpack, and challenge pretty much anything spiritual. Together, we're going to embark on a journey of unlocking spiritual potential through a ton of things like healing, balance, oneness, devil's advocate, and so much more. We always promise to give you what you need and only sometimes what you want. I'm your host, Erika M, child of balance, and here with me, my co-host, is Miss Erin M, Keys of Wisdom 369. Join us as we talk about actually a topic that was turned in by our follower, which is the raw and ugly side of the healing journey. That side that most people don't talk about. Come join us.
So today we're going to talk about like the raw side of healing, the vulnerable side of healing, the ugly side of healing. And this topic came from one of our followers on TikTok. So, when you guys try to ask for something, we always try and touch on that. But I really love this because I don't think enough people talk about the ugly side of healing. And I really don't even think that we should call it ugly because that already right off the bat gives it this like negative connotation. But it's the honest side, it's the raw side, and it's the real side. And I think for a lot of people, when you start on this journey, you always say it best. We just become conscious of what we're doing. When people talk about their spiritual journey, it's already the journey that you're on, but like you always say it, you're just aware and you're labeling this journey that you're now on. But when people often get into this side of things, is the way I want to say it, we are coming in our wounded energy. And a lot of that is, heavy in self-criticism, heavy in rejection, heavy in all of this stuff. And we set these unrealistic expectations of what something is supposed to look like. And when all of that is rooted in that fucked up ass expectation, we start judging what we're supposed to be doing. And the thing is, people talk about, lower densities, 3D, 4D, 5D, like whatever label you want to give it. But we all start in that judgment, the distrust, the overwhelm, the rejection. And you always say it, we all have the same wounds, we're just experiencing it different ways. So I think I think it was last week we were talking about it on live, and somebody asked like an amazing question that led us to be able to talk about this. And it was rooted in that energy of bitterness. And somebody asked us, how do I overcome the bitterness? And like you just straight out the gate, you're like, be bitter. Like, you don't have to stuff the emotions. That's literally the opposite of what trying to work through your wounds is. It's not about stuffing it. It's not about judging it. It's about validating it. Because if you can't validate it, you can't create the space to work through it.
I just think it's one of those things where it's like you have to realize that you have to have an awareness of what's going on. So whether you label it your healing journey, your spiritual journey, or something else entirely, it's up to you. But anytime you go to work on something, you have to have the awareness it's there. So like in that instance, like, yeah, she was like, I'm bitter. And all I could say was, go be bitter, bitch. Because it's one of those things like you need to go be bitter. Because this journey is not about avoiding things. You're doing this journey to no longer avoid things. And if you're going to avoid your anger, you're going to avoid your sadness, you're going to avoid your bitterness, your jealousy. I'm going to avoid, that I maybe have a bad attitude. I'm going to avoid, then that's the problem. The problem is still everything you're avoiding. And it's even worse when you have an awareness that you're doing these things, because then now it's a conscious choice. Before, when it's not in your awareness, it's almost like it's a subconscious cycle, habit, or something like that. But it's like I started recently saying, it's like we don't really have cycles, habits, we have choices. And once it's in our conscious awareness,
It's a choice.
now we're just choosing to do the thing. Having a label such as that separates us from our responsibilities, and it gives us kind of an out for when we don't really feel like choosing quote unquote correctly. And a lot of this healing journey isn't pretty. It's not nice. Healing is not peaceful. And I feel like people need to get over that. Like, I want to choke out so many people who go on social media and who make it up to be this like larger than life peace journey. And it's like, but that's not it though.
No.
Your healing is anything but peaceful in order for you to find peace in your existence afterwards. Like, we heal to handle the joy, not the hurt.
Yes.
And it's one of those things like the hurt already is. The hurt is in your energy because it has come and gone. You keep it alive by ignoring it. And that's one of those things where it's like, if you want it to go away, we need to get it out of the closet and out the front door. And it's one of those things like you got to own it. So, like, the biggest question that kind of prompted us to do this was divine rage.
Yes.
And she was asking about, like, well, why don't people talk about the rage portion? It's because it's the not fun portion.
Correct.
And the people who talk about it, now that you found your rage, right now, all you're allowed to be is angry. You're only allowed to be your dark feminine. You're only allowed to be your dark masculine, telling people, to like shove off and, where to stick it and all this stuff. And it's like, but that's just a piece and a part of you. And I really wish that we could lose the labels all around, because if I didn't tell you, you had to be something.
Yes.
And I feel like that's the whole point. It's like nobody gives you a map and goes, this is what your healing journey is going to look like. You're going to sit down. You're going to fight it for the first 3 months. And then somewhere around month 3, you're going to have a breakthrough, which is going to lead to a lot of crying. We may call in at least 1 or 2 dark nights of the soul. And then we're going to move from dark nights of the soul onto this big push where we feel so smart, we feel so accomplished. Now we need to shove it down everyone's throat, just to realize that nobody actually wants to change until they get to their rock bottom, which is not the same as your rock bottom. So sit down, Bethany. And then we decide that we actually can't people today. So then what we're going to do is we're going to avoid people altogether. And then we're going to realize that when we're avoiding people, we're in isolation. Oh my God, but we're not isolating the good way to learn about ourselves. We're isolating because we decide everything's just too much. And now we're the snowflake we hated. Oh no. And then now we go back on I need to get out there, but now I need to reintroduce myself because I'm not the old me and I can't pretend those masks away anymore. And it's like, but there is so much more in between that. And you lose the zest for the journey when you do it that way. There's no right or wrong way to heal you. And I feel like that's the number one most important thing. And all I can tell people, like we say it all the time, it's like, feel through your shit. If you're happy right now, go fucking be happy. If you're upset right now, go be upset. The biggest thing is that people try to go, well, I know I shouldn't be bitter. Well, I know I shouldn't be angry. Stop trying to rationalize from an adult perspective, because all of that shit is buried from a younger you, from a different perspective. And I feel like a lot of times when people start talking about healing and honestly the child self, everyone overdoes the child self.
Yeah.
Like, the child self is so important. It's the foundations of who you are. But we overdo it. We romanticize it. I just blew bubbles with my child. Okay, fantastic. But are we going to talk about the fact that your child literally blames like your mother for everything, or blames your father for everything, or feels like one of your siblings got more attention than you did and you secretly hate them in the background? Like, are we going to talk about those things? Or are we just going to sit here and pick flowers with our child? And it's like, that's great. But it's like, it's too much sometimes. The raw thing is, it's very simple. Feel what you got to feel and shut up and go do it. Because so much of our energy is spent proving to others that we're doing it, or we want someone to clap for us that we're doing it. It's like, you have to go back in your healing journey and figure out why you need that.
Yeah.
Why you need that, because that is a part of your healing as well. You should be able to move in silence and do what you need to do for you. And I feel like sometimes people disguise their victim journey with their healing journey, and they think that they're the same, and they're not.
No, but that I'm gonna go backwards and then I'm gonna go back to that. But when you were saying, what prompted a lot of this was like that rage. And then what people don't get is, again, glorifying words, right? Everybody wants to go, oh, it's that ancestral rage. Or your rage is at yourself. Like, brutal fact, it isn't necessarily everything outside of you. And I think that ties a lot back into what you just said. People masking their healing journey or their victim journey as their healing journey. And you just have to be willing to call yourself out on the shit. Like, that's the way I want to say that. You have to be willing to do what you say you want to do for you. Like, I can't tell you, and again, No, I'm just gonna fucking say it. I can't tell you how many times I've sat in spaces, whether it's friendships, family, business, where I listen to people say over and over and over again what they want. And then over and over and over again, they avoid the very action that they have to take to do what they claim they want. It's like, that's not healing. It's like you said, these are all choices. You have the awareness. You just don't like your choices. So then you start spinning your journey into something else because it's all rooted in avoidance. And that's why nobody talks about this, because nobody wants to sit here and go, I'm on my healing journey, but I'm still actively avoiding this.
Well, I think that's what's important is because I'm sorry, like, you don't get to heal what you heal. What?
Words.
What? You don't get to, like, they inverted it. You don't get to choose what to heal at what time. I'm gonna tell you right now, even the people who go, well, I wanna start, I want to start with my child self. I just feel like that's a good way, or my teen is angry, or I just feel like, okay, you go ahead and start there. And I can guarantee you, before you finish what you think you're doing, they're going to send you down a roller coaster of shit you were not expecting because you don't get to determine that. You can get, like, you get the choice of, like, where do I want to start, right? But then after that, you at the mercy of your healing journey because it's, what have you put in that box? What have you shoved down there? What is your team like? That's cute. You want to talk about your first boyfriend ever? We want to talk about your brother who tortured you. Like, it's like that kind of a stuff to where it's just like, oh, or how dad was never there for you, or how mom couldn't understand. Like, all of that shit is so much deeper, and you don't get to be like, well, I want to heal my people pleaser, but I don't want to deal with my narcissistic tendencies.
Thank
I
you.
don't want to do that.
Thank you.
Like, but you don't get that choice because I'm going to tell you, like, it's going to keep coming up, keep going up. And that's where people get stuck. And that's where people choose. And it is a choice to get off the healing bus. I've healed enough. No, you just healed to the level of your comfortability and then you left, because healing is never over. You can be on this planet for 99 years and you will be healing for all 99 of them, whether you're intending to or not.
I love that you just said something, but I'm going to keep all labels out of it. Like, I'm going to keep all labels out of this because the label by itself will probably trigger the fuck out of people. But if you really want to talk about like the raw journey, okay, when are you going to address your superiority or your entitlement issues? Like, you're right, wrong, you're good, you're bad, you're superior, inferior. Because everybody goes through that on your journey, right? Like, we've all done it, or we've all sat in a space where we've been on the receiving end of it. What about that? Like you just said, the constant need for validation, the ego boosts, the bragging, the we need people to clap for us, or blaming, deflecting, this and that. I see, and like you said, the inner child shit does get like so just off in left field because it's so much deeper than that. But it's the
But it's
deflect.
like your temper tantrum
Yeah,
is your inner child.
it is.
When something
It is.
comes up and you're like, I don't want to do it, and stomp your, like, that's your inner
It
child.
is.
I hate to tell you, that's your inner
Yeah.
child. We all go through it. I just went through it about 5 seconds before I got on this damn podcast. Like, where I was like, I don't really want to do this. Like, and guess what? Like, we're here. Like, because it's like one of those things you just gotta own your shit. This is the raw healing of something. You're like, I don't have all the answers. That's great. Okay, we're here. We're showing up.
But
Right? Like,
but I love how you said you're not in control of the order in the wounds in which you want to heal. And I love that you gave that example because I think it was, I don't know, maybe a year and a half ago, or maybe a little bit longer, but somebody brought that inner child awareness to me. And when I tell you, like, I didn't even realize that that's what it was. Just like you said that, just like your temper tantrums or your this or your that are actually like your child energy. But I was just gonna, give an example. Like, I'm sitting here thinking I'm being an adult in a specific situation, advocating, using my voice for, a family member in the hospital, only to leave there and feel like defeated and like I wasn't heard and da 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 da. And I was like really struggling because I'm like in my adult body doing adult things, right? And I was talking to somebody after the fact and they were like, you mean because your inner child just got triggered like a motherfucker? And I'm like, what? You know what I'm saying? Like, literally, I was like, what? Because we all have this like label or conception or like whatever that the seed that it's supposed to look like. I'm like, what are you fucking talking about? Right? Like, meaning, like, I was really receptive to what was being shared with me. But they're like, dude, like, how many times have you, like, screamed to be heard? Or you retreated because you weren't heard? Or whether it was from attention, you know what I mean? Not just like mom and dad sitting having a conversation with you, but were you like the kid that was in the background? Like your sibling was always at center stage, like this is this. And I'm like, whoa. You know what I'm saying? But it was like, I'm not in a hospital advocating for my, one of my parents thinking, I'm here to heal my inner child today.
Well, and like that, and then it's like I like want to jump backwards on what you said to jump forward too, is because it's like so many people want to remove things and put it outside of them. And I know we talk about this all the time,
Yep.
but it's like even with something as simple as divine rage.
Yes.
For those of you who have actually felt divine rage, ancestral rage on
Yeah.
your lineage, it feels different than your rage. It feels completely different. The energy is different.
Yes.
You're like, I'm not even sure if I'm mad, but I'm mad right now. Like, it's like a whole different kind of level.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes, like, first of all that stuff usually comes from injustice, unfairness, disagreeing, especially on the ancestral side of things. Like,
Yeah.
and it's usually been a cyclistic thing that has traveled through the bloodline
Correct.
to where it strikes a resonance chord in the energy that awakens that type of, oh, hell no, in your ancestors, as I'm getting goosebumps. Like, but there's something that happens that I feel like people need to be really careful about. You're allowed to be angry. You're allowed to put your fist through a wall. You're allowed to be upset. You're allowed to want to choke somebody. Like, I'm not saying act on those urges. I'm just saying, like,
So
you're allowed to feel that. But sometimes I feel people are like, oh, I'm doing so good, sunshine and rainbows. And, oh, yeah, and I cried so much and I feel so amazing. And then the second they get to rage, they're like, it's not mine. It's divine rage. God's mad for me. And you're like, what? You're like, no, that's yours. Like, that's yours. Like, it's okay that, you know what I mean?
yeah.
But it's just so important. You gotta own it. You're mad. Like, because if I ask you why you're mad, you're gonna give me something that happened that triggered your anger. And I'm like, okay, but that's
But
not divine rage. That's you. Like, that's not divine rage. That's you. When you have a cause and effect that happened directly to you, you didn't just witness, happened directly to you, you were the recipient of bullshit, that rage is yours.
yes.
Because if I asked you, well, why is it mad? Because I always had to do this. Great, it's you. It's not divine rage. I hate to tell you, I don't know why you don't want to look at your anger, but like, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Like, anger is not always like anger. It's usually a secondary emotion. There's usually something under anger that is the core of it. But when held in, when bottled up, it moves quickly enough and it moves aggressively enough that it comes out as spitfire. It comes out as anger. It comes out as, I'm going to burn it down because I'm just fed up. That's like the end of my rope is anger,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Anger doesn't always have a rational thing because it's not actually anger. Anger is frustration. Anger is agitation. Anger is like, I'm just done listening to you. Like, and it doesn't have to make sense. And I feel like sometimes people try to make too much sense out of their anger. And it's like, you get your anger out first, and then we can see what's underneath of it. If you're frustrated, if it's injustice, if you feel like something's not fair, if you feel like you're being judged, a certain way, and you don't feel like it's a good representation of self, you feel like you're losing something, like, what is it? Like, I just feel like people are not honest enough with themselves, and I feel like I feel like I'm on a freaking soapbox, but it's like, you just gotta be honest with yourself. Because if you're afraid to be honest with yourself, then you gotta ask yourself what you're afraid to find.
Correct.
Because it's you. If you can't be honest with yourself, then stop the journey right now and don't start again until you're ready.
Correct.
Because it's one of those things where it's like, you're not gonna get anywhere if you're not honest with yourself.
No. But see, that's, I mean, I'm so, see, like, you feel like you're in your soapbox. I'm just going to tie it into, like, but again, ugly sides of healing, friends, like addressing your cognitive distortions, which is exactly what you're sitting there, you know what I mean, on that soapbox. Like, a lot of people, like, don't want to, they want to avoid, and I'm just going to keep taking it back to avoidance. They want to avoid that the thought patterns that our emotions tie into, and they lead us to believe things that aren't true, regardless of how much like physical, tangible, undeniable evidence is sitting right in front of us, that's part of your distortions. It's the distortion of your reality. If you can't get past that, if you can't say, I am willing to open my mind up to other possibilities, like you just said, then stop right now. Stop right now. Because
you're not doing anybody a service, and you're
no,
doing yourself a huge disservice.
correct. You're doing a huge disservice, because the entire point is to open your mind up. It is to unlearn the things that you, when I say it's because I'm just going to say people, the things that you don't like about yourself. I'm putting those in air quotes because I know nobody can see. But it's like everybody thinks this is about dissecting and tearing yourself apart and you're broken and you need to fix yourself. No, you're not fucking broken, first of all. Like, you're just not. Like, you've lived what you've lived, what you've lived. And like, then people are like, but I'm fixing myself. Okay, so why are you again judging yourself? If you are still sitting and healing, going, well, I'm fixing all the broken parts of me, then you are still looking at yourself through this distortion of there's something fucking wrong with you.
Now, a word from our sponsors. If you are looking for a one-stop shop for all things spiritual, check out the website, www.childofbalance.com. We opened up a Get 5, Give 5 program, and it's all for referring friends and family. We know you guys do it. We want to say thank you because we are always seeing you send your trusted people our way. So visit the website and figure out how you can not only get $5 for doing it, but give $5 to your bestie. Visit www.childofbalance.com. There's no end date. We're just launching it now to say thank you. So if you want a one-stop shop for private spaces, spiritual guidance and assistance, mediumship, mentorship, private readings, shadow work assistance, it's all there. If you are looking for a free tree of knowledge where you can learn esoteric wisdoms, breath work, you can learn about yourself, cultures, spiritual hygiene, spiritual practices, spiritual traditions, and you can just learn about almost anything under the sun spiritual for 100% free, check out the website. And you should become a member. If you're not already a member, www.childofbalance.com. It's 100% free. It'll never cost you money. We would never charge you money. The website is about assistance and community. Take advantage of it, fam. It's a great place to go to unlock your spiritual potential. www.childofbalance.com. And then you gotta ask yourself, like, that's such a broken way of looking at things. It really is, because what's perfect then?
Correct.
What is the scale you're measuring yourself to judge yourself broken up against?
Correct.
And have you analyzed that scale close enough? Or are we doing a grass is greener because we have an idea or a person in mind and we go, that person's healed? Get close enough. Nobody's ever fully healed.
Mhm.
Everyone's got cracks. Everyone's got scars, bruises. It's there. Everyone's got trigger points. They're there. You'd be dead if you didn't have them.
But that's the thing. It doesn't matter how quote unquote healed you think someone else is. And that's exactly how I want to say that. I want to say it exactly that way. Because, like, don't get it twisted for a second that I could tell you, yeah, I've dealt with this a lot. And I can usually keep a pretty level head. I can usually stay in a space of imbalance. And then there's days where I'm like, I can, orange isn't my color. Remind me I can't go to jail today. Like, and fly off the handle. Because, like, some days your tolerance for shit is just different. Some days, like, your triggers are real and they're just way more than they are any other day. There's no fucking shame in that. If you can't admit that, like, you don't just heal it once. I'm sorry, like, fun fact, you don't just heal it once. You don't.
And you don't do one thing and you're just magically healed. Like, I can't take that. I don't know who came up with that, if it's just our humanness wanting to be like, "I did it, cookie for me," and, like, put it away. I don't really quite understand, but that is probably one of my biggest pet peeves, especially when people come to shadow work, and we always get to know people, like, all walks of life. What have you done? What haven't you done? Where are is your knowledge? You know what I mean? Like, that kind of stuff. What are your goals, aspirations? Why did you choose to sign up for this? You know, what was your trigger point? Like, all this stuff, like, right? Like, I can't tell you, people will be like, "Well, I did that already." You did? Hmm, okay. Let's go through how you did it. And then it's like, just because you do it once doesn't mean it's done.
Okay, but
And I feel like that's the raw part of healing, is just because you fucking did it once doesn't mean you're done.
I'm I'm gonna say something energetically that I like energy wise that I just want you to like go balls to the wall on this, okay? Because this is like one of my icks, my irks, my I don't like this either. When people think that you do something once and it's over, like when people hold on, because you're gonna love this one. When people are like, "Oh, I blew open this chakra," or "I blew open that chakra," dude, I just want to run because it's an energy center. I'm gonna let my friend take the whole stage on this one, but like, no, I'm just here to tell you, no, it doesn't work that way.
You've been conned.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say is you've been conned.
Yes.
I'm sorry you were got. We all get at some point, and some people don't even realize they're getting other people, but it's a con.
Yes.
And I'm not saying chakras don't hold weight, they do. I work with chakras. I value them as energy centers. They do some beautiful things. There's some great strength, knowledge, and about yourself that is held in your energy centers 1,000%. However, however, the reason that nothing ever changes for you is because we are pacifying the energy. So if I go, "Oh, my root chakra is blocked." Great. Oh, you went to a Reiki person, or, oh, you listened to some music, and, oh, you blasted that open. Fantastic. But the reason your root chakra was blocked has not changed.
No.
So guess what's going to show back up in roughly about 2 weeks? Your blocked, hole filled root chakra,
Correct.
because you've done nothing, my
Yeah.
friend. You have done nothing to actually maintain that frequency. Anybody, and this is just my ass, anybody can align their chakras. I can show you how right now. We can
Correct.
do it on the podcast. Like, anybody can align their chakras. Anybody can start clearing out. They can cleanse and clear their energy centers momentarily.
Correct.
The trick to healing or balance or any kind of work like this in the journey is maintaining.
Yes.
There is something in your life that caused that hole in the root chakra, that caused that underactivity in the root chakra, that caused the bogging down of energy in the root chakra. What was it? You're going to have to figure that out. Because then, guess what? When that gets cleared out, guess what's no longer a hindrance to the root chakra? Then you want to clean and clear. Then you have a clean slate. You get everything charged up and moving. Fantastic. That's one less thing hindering the root chakra from moving. You can temporarily do anything with your energy.
Yes.
It's maintaining it that is the skill, that is the trick. And I just it irks the shit out of me, because I'm like, I'm so sorry that somebody told you if you got Reiki done on you, or if you did a sound bowl healing, or if you did this one thing this one time, you were fixed. I'm sorry, but you're not broken, and that's not how you fix yourself.
No.
Like, and even the whole thing of broken, like, we use it because it's an easy word to get people to understand their lack of wholeness, right? When they hold on to shit because they're ignoring parts of themselves. But that's where that comes from. Like, that's where that comes from. When you have severe trauma, drama, and things that occur in your life, even from a scientific standpoint, your psyche can splinter off. From a spiritual standpoint, your soul can splinter off.
Yes.
It's the same type of thing. Your energy pauses at the moment that those things occur. Whether you're talking about it from a soul retrieval perspective in spirituality, or you're talking about multiple personalities in a scientific way,
Correct.
or you're talking about it in a shadow work spot going, my inner child, it doesn't really matter. The energy is the same. You had a traumatic moment. The brain couldn't handle it. so it safeguarded the body, and we fractured somewhere. That's your break. That's your broken. We fractured. But really what you're saying is that we paused.
Yes.
When I was 5 and I got, I don't know, I'll make something up. When I was 5 and I got smacked in the face, like, oh, I paused. I paused at that paused me hard. Like, you know what I mean? Great. But what was actually the ripple of that?
Right.
What did I feel like I deserved it? Was I taking a blow when I know my sibling should have deserved that smack, and I was always getting in trouble when they were seemingly through my eyes not getting in trouble? Like, what was surrounding that incident? What was surrounding, did you have a massive loss in the family? Did you go through physical, mental, or emotional trauma? Did you have to deal with, you know, absentee parents? Did you like all of these things which you have downplayed? I can guarantee you, if you were walking these earth right now with unhealed trauma, unaccepted experiences in life is really what unhealed trauma equates to. Unaccepted
Yeah.
experiences in life, unreintegrated energy. Really, what you're saying is you've been avoiding yourself. You've been avoiding your past. It's hard. It's a hard part of your story you don't want to look at, and we're actively dodging it.
Yeah.
And we're pretending, quote unquote, it's okay, and we're masking up. We're pretending that that doesn't bother us. We're pretending it wasn't a big deal. It happened so long ago. Right now, we're gaslighting ourselves.
Yes.
But the problem is a lot of times when people do that, they don't realize that they're not actually coming from the correct perspective. Stop coming from your adult perspective, telling the 5-year-old you what's correct and what's wrong.
Correct.
You have to come from the 5-year-old you perspective to actually see that for your 5-year-old's truth. And I feel like that's the number one thing that gets lost in translation with the healing journey. I can't tell you how many people are like, well, my mom was never there, but I understand that because she was one of 8, and it was kind of hard because there was just so much going on. And you know, it was hard, you know, I was like, I was the oldest, so, like, I had a couple good years, but then when she had more kids and she was a homemaker and all this stuff happened, so dad was the breadwinner, and I can just understand how, like, she was overextended, she was exhausted, right? And now all of a sudden we're making a million freaking excuses for how we felt when we were growing up, but nobody asked you for that. Nobody asked you to try to rationalize and make it, quote, unquote, "okay"
Yep.
for you to have lived your life. And I feel like that's the number one thing that irks me. People were like, well, but I don't blame her. No, your adult self doesn't blame her because now you're a mom and you have 2 kids and you can't fathom how she had 8 and was still somewhat a sane parent. However, the like, I don't know, 6 to 14-year-old you who felt like she got blown over and had to babysit and be a secondary mother to all of your siblings. Guess what she doesn't feel? She don't feel sorry for mom, one pimp tear and she done. Like, that's the kind of energy where it's like, you're fooling yourself and you're downplaying yourself, and you've been downplayed your whole life, and that's where I tell people, like, the raw part of healing is realizing that you're the one doing it to you now as an adult, and I think that's the rawness of it is because literally you're like, "So my whole life, people have told me to shush up, rub some dirt in it. This is life. This is how," and then guess what? We become 30, 40-year-old us and we go, shut up. It didn't matter. She tried her best. She was this and that. Great. You're basically telling the younger version of you to shut the fuck up and sit the fuck down. Guess what the younger version of you still feels like? Run over, unheard, underappreciated, unloved, all of those things. So what are you still like failing to give yourself? Exactly what you need. What does that 8-year-old version of you need? What does that 14-year-old version? That 14-year-old version probably needs someone to sit down and go, "How was your day?
Yeah.
I know we don't get to talk a lot, and I know you help mommy all the time. How was your day?"
Yep.
And I feel like it's one of those things, like, when we tell people to give yourself what you need, yeah, we mean go take a walk in the park. We mean go get in a bath and have alone time, of course. But what we also mean is level with yourself.
Yep.
Was the 8-year-old you pissed off at mom for having 8 children and dad was never there and you had to divide time so you felt like you got 0 attention? Like, because I'm pretty sure a cookie is not gonna make that better for your 8-year-old self. You blowing bubbles with your 8-year-old self is not gonna make her any more accepting or validated in the fact that she feel like she got run over her whole life. So it's just like the raw part of healing is to stop romanticizing the bullshit. I'm sorry, like, you got some shit you need to work out, and it's you talking to you, and when people come to me and they can't talk to themselves, that's the part that I'm like, "Oh," because that's the level we've been avoiding ourselves.
Mhm.
That is the level we have been avoiding our shit. And then to judge it from an higher arcing perspective and to judge it worthy or unworthy is wild. Nobody asked you your adult's opinion on your child self. That was not the goal. The goal was not your adult judgment on your child self or your teen self or anything in between. The goal was, what does your child need? What?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it's that commercial, like, "Where do you know where your children are?" Like, it's like, "Do you know what your inner child needs?" Like, it's that kind of a thing, and give it to them. Level with them and be like, "I agree with you, that sucked. That sucked, and I'm sorry that we put us through that. I'm sorry that we had to do this. I'm sorry that we showed up. I'm sorry people didn't hear us. But can I show you something? Can I show you how awesome we actually turned out? Can I show you that now people listen to us? Can I show you that don't worry, it got better?"
Yes.
Like, blah, blah, like, but you gotta validate it first because everyone wants to skip that. Like, if you literally I don't know, if you got, chewed out by your boss at work and then your friend, I don't know, Linda, comes in and starts talking to you, and then you're in a bad mood because you try to explain to Linda that you just got chewed out by your boss. And Linda's like, "It's okay. Can I show you this though? Can I show you this? Because I just want to show you, like, don't worry because like you're in line for a promotion. Don't worry because like this worked out. Don't worry because actually I didn't tell you, but I overheard your boss in an argument with his wife on the phone, and you caught that backlash. So like, don't worry. But we're here now. It doesn't matter. That does not make Linda feel like, no, Linda, sit down. That does not make me feel better. The fact that why do I deserve, and that's where people like miss it. Why do I deserve what I got? Chances are you don't,
You know,
but somebody's never told you you don't.
correct.
And it's like everyone wants to like this is what gets me is like you will go through cycles on your journey, and I feel like it's important to realize that it's a mold. You get to change it. I call it a working definition, right? When we get to kind of alter things from our different elevated perspectives on things. Your healing journey is the same. You may one day be like, F that guy in your past. And then, great, you sit with that, you own it. You're like, yeah, fuck that guy in my past. And then all of a sudden, you go a little bit deeper, you learn some other things. And now it's like, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, because if I didn't do that, then I wouldn't be this, and then I wouldn't be over here. So thank you. I don't condone what you did, but thank you. And then all of a sudden you go a little further, right? You go a little further, and for some reason your guides bring you right back to some bullshit. And you're like, I've looked at this twice, and they're like, take another look. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, bef- wow, I feel sorry for you now. Like
Yeah.
before it was like a fuck you, then it was a thank you. Now it's like, damn, you like trying real hard, but you still can't run. Like it's one of those things where you're just like, oh. And you're like, okay, you're like, well, I I probably could have helped. I could have probably responded differently. I probably could have And now we're looking at it from like this over perspective to where we've hit everything. And then you get to a point where you're just at peace at it. And now we don't need to look at it anymore, right? Now I've been mad at you. I've validated my actual feelings. I've been hurt, excited, sad, whatever. I felt abandoned. I felt joyful. I felt whatever it was. You've now validated it. You've owned it. You sat with it. And then you got to a point in your healing, your growth, your elevation, your ascension, whatever, where you're like, I don't even want to hold that grudge. I don't want you to have that large of a part in my story. I don't want you to hold that energy. So then you go, what? Forgiveness for self. I'm going to forgive you. Forgiveness for me. That's that little rosy part that people get stuck in. That they're like, oh, like I forgive everybody and everything's love and light. Bullshit. Shove it down your throat.
Bullshit.
That's not it.
Nope.
Because it's one of those things like, it's to honor everything as though you honor yourself. Yes, 1,000%. But you're forgiving it for you. You're saying, I forgive you, not
No,
because I forget what you
do it
did.
more.
It's forgiveness without forgetting, and I can still choose every day how I want to handle you in case you come back. But it's one of those things where it's like, no, because forgiveness is for me because I'm saying I forgive you because I want your thumb off of that part of my energy. I don't want what you're doing to trigger my shit so that I feel like you have a piece of me under your control anytime you want it. So I'm going to forgive you, release myself and you from you having the reins in my energy and my story and all of this stuff. This is the rawness of it. And then guess what? We elevate again and we go, actually, I think I gave you too much power. I think I gave you too much room in my chapter.
Yes.
I'm gonna leave you in chapter 4. Yeah, I'm because you're the author of your story. You're not just reading it. So it's like I'm gonna revise that. I'm gonna be like, oh,
Let's edit.
know better, do better. And then chapter 4 through 20 million, you're not in. And that's the idea. It's like, oh, I validated it. I came to peace with it. I set it free, hence the release that everyone seemingly thinks they're talking about, but they never actually release anything, which is wild to me. But it's like, okay, then the release, and then now you're on with your life. People get stuck in the first 2 steps of that, and that's your victimship. That's your victimship of being like, well, this happened to me. You're right. And somebody has had less happen to them, and you are a warrior in your own right. And some people have had more happen to them, and your story wouldn't even make their bottom 10.
But we're not comparing who has worse trauma. Like, your
But
trauma
that's
is
that
worse.
victim shit.
Yes.
You know what I
I
mean?
want to like go all the way back to something that you said. Like, I was just been like patiently waiting here because like you said so much good stuff.
I
But
don't
like,
even remember what I said. So
we're gonna go to like 52 different places because I love where this happens. But like, you were talking about like, well, I mean, first of all, like that victim mentality that like we need to compare, like, well, maybe our trauma isn't as bad as so and so's. But I want to go even further back than that, where you were talking about, when you as the adult starts gaslighting the child you. And when I
who has been gaslit their whole
hold
life?
on, but this is
What?
hold on. We're going.
Your own
I'm going to take another
version.
thing that you have said to people because like you've said it to me, okay, like, but you've said it to other people because I'm gonna bring this full circle and it's probably gonna irritate some people, but you want to do raw side of healing people, so here we go. Like, when you sit in that, like that, when I say the victim abuser mentality, that is like that the 3D emotions. It is. It just is. So we've all been there. We've all been there. Let's put it that way. But I often watch people, and we watch people start to unpack their parent wounds, right? Okay. And then what do you always say? Like, you become your own little version of them, whether you
Yeah.
realize it or not. So then, hold on, I'm gonna go a whole place. I'm gonna use some labels that is meant to trigger people. So if you get triggered, this was the point of what I'm saying. I listen to people all the time tell me how their mom's a narcissist, or their dad's a narcissist, or this, or this. Where do you think you learn that behavior that you gaslighting your own child energy from? So you are sitting there in your own little special, and I'm not calling you a narcissist, but like
But you have tendencies. You have tendencies.
yes, and that's what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna make this a blanket statement, and if you're offended, then like you know where you got to go work on something. We have all sat in a narcissistic tendency at some point in time. Whether we have gaslit people, whether we manipulated people, whether we lacked empathy, whether, we lacked responsibility, whether we exaggerated a need for attention and validation. I'll give you all the boxes to mark of what is in fact falls under narcissism when it becomes a very much of an imbalance / personality disorder. But don't sit there for 1 second and lie to yourself and say you've never been attention seeking. Bye-bye. Yes, you have. We all have. We all have. People, like, and I'll say this, and I'm going to say it
Like,
16
have
times.
you met children? I'm sorry. They judge love by attention
And
and
hold
time
the
spent.
phone. I ain't judging your child first, neither. So let me say that I ain't judging nobody's inner child, because guess what? Part of that is your conditioning. It is how you were raised, friends. You didn't know any better until you got outside your home and saw that, oh my God, this isn't normal. So, newsflash, if you were raised, programmed, and conditioned to behave this way, like at some point, there's some of that embedded in your subconscious, and it's just part of who you are until you have an awareness that you don't like that. So I want people to literally stop for a second and go, stop being the abuser of yourself in your own healing journey. Because every time you're gaslighting, and I'm going to call it triangulation because everybody likes to use narcissistic terms. Stop triangulating your inner child your teenager, and your adolescent self, all with your adult self. Because your adult self is gaslighting every other version of you and minimizing your shit because that's still how wounded you actually are. And there's no shame in that. But let's own it before we get to criticizing everybody outside of us. Because, like I said, if you are triangulating the other versions of you, I don't even care their chronological age. I don't care if it was you from 5 years ago, you from 10, 20, 30, 40. If you are triangulating any version of you against other versions of you to make them feel bad, less than, judge them, shame them, you are
Shadow work.
using other versions of you, and stop. You want to talk about the raw, the vulnerable, the not, the ugly? People don't like that word. They like to use it outside of themselves. But like, this is part of being real with yourself. Like, you do a lot of this and you are the root of your own suffering. And I don't mean to be so bold, blunt, and direct, but
No, because you know what? Like, but that's just the truth because I hate that shit as a badge. I hate when people pin a badge to their shirt and go, look at me. And one of the biggest things that we'll find, and I'm just going to touch on it lightly and now I'm going to move on because I got something else to say. But it's like one of the number one things I hear a lot is like, well, I'm a narcissistic survivor. I'm a this, and I've been in many narcissistic. That's not good. That means that's your type, that's your trauma. There's something in there that you are choosing
yeah,
to engage in, especially if it's multiple different relationships with multiple different people.
yes,
Like, we should not be clapping for ourselves. Like, yeah, I'm glad you got out of it. I'm glad you finally at some point chose you, put your foot down, and like, I will give you all the love. I will
yeah,
hold your flag alongside of
yeah.
you. However, we have to kind of sit back, and this is that raw journey, and be like, but this has happened with 3 out of 4 boyfriends, 3 out of 4 girlfriends. What am I doing here? 3 out of 4 husbands. What is going on? Right? Like, it's this type of energy to be like, that's your cycle. That's your trauma.
Mhm.
What in you is seeking out that type of an energy? That's what you need to look at.
Why?
And I'm going to tell you right now, I hate, and I know
Yeah,
hate's a strong word and it's a strong vibration, but I do. Like, sometimes people use the word manipulation and we look at it only in a negative term. And it's like transmutation, alchemization is all a form of manipulation.
facts.
So it's like, just know that manipulation by itself is not a bad thing. It is the reasons you are doing manipulation that is your quote unquote right and wrong. And you have to judge what that's right or wrong for
The
yourself.
label you're
Like,
giving it by the intention you're putting behind it.
yeah. And to say that with this healing journey, if you are going on a healing journey in hopes to prove somebody wrong, you're doing it for the wrong reasons.
Yep.
And you'll find that the sooner and the longer you get into the journey, if you actually put work in, you may start doing it for somebody else and realize, I want to do this for me. I feel better. Like, that's fine. Your intention can change at any time. But it's like, if you're also healing to then hopefully elicit some sort of manipulative energy in somebody else that then they heal too so that you can be happy. That's manipulation. We don't use our healing to manipulate others. We heal for us.
Facts.
So you heal because you hit your rock bottom, and you will notice the people who don't do it for those reasons, because when they hit their first hurdle, they hit their first uncomfortability zone that they don't want to look at. We put our head in the sand and we throw a temper tantrum.
Yep.
And those are the people typically who are like, I want to heal these 3 things about myself. But not this one or that one. No, not that suitcase. Put it back in the closet. And you're like, whoa, okay. The universe is going to give you what you need to heal in the moment, along with your team and everything else, because it's what's prevalent, most prevalent in your energy at the time it's being called upon to be healed.
Yep.
You are getting ripple effect energy from those around you that is triggering that part of yourself, your shadow, your existence, your conscious, your unconscious, your subconscious, like all of it. And it's being called to the surface to be acknowledged, felt, dealt with. It's when we go, not today. Like, I don't, you could do that. It's going to come back though. And then it's just like, why can't I? I feel like I'm going nowhere. No, you're actively avoiding the thing that they are bringing to you to heal. Now, a word from our sponsors. If you are looking for a one-stop shop for all things spiritual, check out the website www.childofbalance.com. For those of you who truly appreciate handmade products, we have a handmade shop. Everything is made to order, blessed, saged, and sent out as quick as possible. We have anything from handmade sounds for meditation to chakra chain macrames to tree of life macrames with inlaid crystals to herbal blends like bath teas and dump and go specials to road opener mixes to kits and oils and so much more. For those of you who enjoy taking spiritual classes and courses but maybe can't fit it into your busy schedule, we have self-study courses, and everything can be found in the handmade shop. The website is about assistance and community. Take advantage of it, fam. It's a great place to go to unlock your spiritual potential. www.childofbalance.com. Like, they are shoving your people pleaser in your face. They are shoving your lack of boundaries in your face. They are shoving your poor energetic hygiene in your face. They are shoving
fulfillment
your, like,
in your face.
all of
Like,
it. They're shoving it in your face, and people are like, I'm not, I don't understand the test. It's because it's not a test. It's not a test. They're just showing you what you've been asking for. What's next? What's next? This. Universe. Like, it takes me back to that, like, it takes me back to that TikTok, that stupid TikTok from like years ago, where she was like meditating and she's like, tell me what's next, universe. And then it's like, wash the dishes. And she's like, no, 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 not that, universe. What's next on the agenda? And they're like, clean your house and like declutter. And she's like, oh no, no, universe, come on. And then it's just like, it was like, it was like, clean out your car, go do something. And then she was just like, universe, why are you not being nice? No, the universe is actually telling you what you need to hear. You just don't want to hear it. Healing is not going to appease your ego. It's not. Healing is going to slap your ego in the face and tell it to sit down. So you're gonna hear not what you want to hear. Like, and if you get triggered by the word, find a different definition for the word for a moment so you can grasp an inner standing
yes.
of it. Because there's many different levels of like a word like abandonment. There is a many different levels. It does not mean someone had to physically leave your space. It does not mean somebody had to ghost you or leave you alone, or no, there is different levels to mental abandonment, emotional abandonment, like physical abandonment. There's a lot of different levels, and then you span that across your existence with all the different relationships you've had. And sometimes it's just the like, I didn't abandon somebody, so did I stick around too long? Like, you felt like if you left, you were abandoning. Like, there's so many levels to that, and I feel like if one word triggers you or you get stumped on it, try to really remove that word and put in a different definition, a different term that may help for understanding. Like, I feel like that's just super important because we tend to look at things from one level, and healing is literally asking you to take your eyeballs and send them all around
Yeah.
from different levels, different perspectives. Like, look under the sofa, look in the sofa, look on the sofa, look at the sofa from the roof, from the corner, from the front of the door. Like, look at it from where the dust bunnies lie. Look at it everywhere, because that's exactly what healing is calling you to do. You think you know who you are until I flip the page upside down, and then I ask you what you see, and then we see it's something different. Like, healing is about mind fucking yourself to unfuck yourself. And I think it's just really interesting.
But see, that's it. It's literally, like you just said, it's about mind fucking yourself to like unfuck yourself. But like, again, I'm just going to throw like an odd curveball out there. Just an ick or a awareness. I always hear people always, dude, it just is what it is today. I don't even care. But like, I always hear people, craving that connection. And I'm going to use the word like, and I'm going to say intimacy, but I don't mean it like bow chicka wow wow. I mean it like the people who just get you. The conversations that like the deep, like I said, those intimate conversations, right? If you cannot be intimate with yourself, again, not in those kind of ways, prefacing that, but I mean, like, you can't get to know the
50 minutes in, this got wild.
but you know what I'm saying? Like, the ins and outs of you, why you work the way you do, why you feel the way you do, like, honoring all your experience and, like you say, what is your ness? Because that is part of you. All of your fucking experiences. You know, everybody wants to, I'm gonna say, it, blow their third eye, blow their crown, blow their star. And hold on, yeah, eye roll, hard eye roll, because I'm gonna tell you,
I hate that shit.
nobody is coming to blow your mind except for you. That's how I'm literally telling you that. Nobody's coming to blow your mind except for you. Your wisdom comes directly from your experience and what you gained or learned from your experience. I can't give you my wisdom. I can share it. I can't give it to you because it might resonate, but unless we had the exact same experience in the exact same way, it is not the same. It's not supposed to be. It's not supposed to be. So when you realize that's what they mean about like it's the inner standing. Everything that you seek is inside of you. Stop looking for everything outside of you. The validation, the this, the that. Everything you've experienced is where your wisdoms are gained. Period.
And it's like, I know we've probably said this if you watch our lives, if you maybe listen to some other podcasts at this point, but it's like, this is your authenticity.
Yes.
Like, your authenticity is how you feel right in this moment.
Yep.
How you feel right now, that is your authenticity. When you tell yourself, I shouldn't feel this, throw shouldn't out the damn door, don't put it in your dictionary. When, I'm not supposed to, throw it out. Who's telling you what you're supposed to do besides you? Like, and I tell people this all the time. When you're looking for your healing journey, I don't like to be told what to do.
No.
I don't. Like, it's not in me. And my mother just confirmed it. Like, when I was talking to her a couple days ago, she was like, do you know that you were like not always the easiest person to talk to? Anything that took away your freedom or your this, you were not about. And I was like, yeah, that's my past lives coming through. Like, don't test me. But it's one of those things, like, it's just so funny because this is literally what some of these constructs are asking you to do.
Yes.
So just be careful when you start on your healing journey. You just want to have a little bit of growth, your spiritual journey. Make sure that you're not swapping one construct for
For
another.
another.
Make your journey be able to have your free will in there. Make your journey be able to have choices and decisions. And like, as much as you may feel like you are behind schedule, you are right on time.
You're right where you're supposed
Because
to be.
this
I
is
promise you.
Yeah. Because this is so led off of options and free will and free choice, and you know, you're not losing anything. And I feel like that's really important because, one, we don't own anything here. And I feel like that's really,
Yes.
you got to get it through your head. This is a temporary vessel in a temporary existence. And if you believe you've gone around, you have past life memories, you've done past life regression, whatever, then you already know that to be fact. I'm not saying don't care about anything. I'm saying keep it in a balanced perspective, right? It's temporarily yours, yes, but you don't own anything, and you sure as shit can't take it with you. So it's like, what's really important here? Is it the big house, the flashy car? Is it what we can convince people of? Or is it actually who you are behind closed doors? Because I know so many people who are, I mean, they're like loaded. They have so much freaking money they don't want for anything. They're like nice people in their own right. Like, they really are. They'll give you whatever. They'll loan you money. Behind closed doors, they hate their life.
Yes.
And a lot of people on this journey, they've already hated their lives. That's why they're here. They hit their rock bottom of, I want to do something different. They hated who they were. They hated who their situation or their lifestyle, quote unquote, made them become, right? It's like all of those things. You're not fixing anything, because the whole point of this is to realize you were never broken. It was the way you were judging yourself convinced you that you were broken at some point in your life. So then what did you do? You masked up to appear perfect.
Yes.
but you were never fucking broken. So when I tell you that it's not about fixing you, it's about removing the masks that you put on to falsely cover something that you thought was there that was never there. It maybe just wasn't, and there's a crow that was weird. Um, but that's really the point. So that's why I say, like, I don't like the broken terminology. You're just realizing that you were always whole. And then we're removing everything that we put there because at one point or another we thought we weren't.
It's the filler.
At one point or another, we thought yeah, at one point or another, we thought we weren't whole. We thought there was something wrong with us. We thought we weren't accepted because we weren't like everybody else. I'm not normal. I'm the black sheep. I'm the this. Be careful.
Be careful with those
Be
labels.
careful because that is your limit as well. You will find yourself never being accepted. You will find yourself never finding your place. You will find yourself always in that struggle. I was thinking about this before we got on live too. This is so random, so just, follow me. But it's like so many times we need a larger than life adversary for our psyche's sense to battle, to fight, to give ourselves importance, to give ourselves worth, to give ourselves understanding, and all of this stuff, right? But if you give that to yourself in every other area of your life, your being, your shadow, you will be surprised at how much you don't necessarily need to give yourself every single fight under the sun.
Correct.
You don't need to have this larger than life devil or demon or whatever to battle. How you don't always need to be this warrior with their sword ready. I'm not saying you don't have it and you can wield it like a boss. I'm just saying that's not all that you are. And I feel like a lot of times on this spiritual journey, in the healing journey, you get locked in. I'm a curse breaker. I'm a this. I used to live over here. I'm an Egyptian goddess. I'm a like, that's great. I'm a fractal of Anubis. Like all of that stuff. It's like we start labeling ourselves when the whole point is just to accept you as you are without labels.
I love that you just said all that because the thing is, and again, I'm probably trigger somebody when I say what I'm about to say. Whatever. If that's how you feel, you don't you don't need to share that with everybody else. Like
I'm
I
sorry.
just
It
did
was
it.
the face. It was the face that you guys can't see.
But that's the thing. But again, like you gotta ask yourself, and I'm just here to like just be the trigger right now. I'm purposefully doing this to be a trigger. If you have to label things and then go around and shout it from the rooftops or tell everybody what of great importance you are, do you really feel that about yourself, or are you seeking validations, superiority, this, that, and whatever outside of you? If you believe that you are those things, then your belief in those things should be enough. And you're validating that to yourself. And I'm not here to tell you you're not any of those things. What I'm telling you is if that's what you believe to be true to your soul, you don't have to go around convincing people.
Yeah, we're not proving anything.
But again,
If you know, your knowing is enough.
yes.
If you know, your knowing is enough.
And I'm gonna tell you, like, and I'm gonna say this. The knowing is a powerful place to sit. Just period. When you know things, and that's how I want to say that, about yourself, about your gifts, your abilities, the knowing, you'll just shut up. You'll be in that silent, peaceful, and I'm doing peaceful in air quotes because like you are your peace. Like it's not something you get outside of you. It's again back to your energy, your balance, where you sit with yourself. When you've taken out all the shit you've fillered in over time, that you've put there as the filler or the masks. I heard that. Or this or this. Yeah, I heard that, Brent. That was loud. Um,
Your piece is your neutrality.
yes, but that's the thing. When you don't have to scream to be heard or scream to be seen because you see yourself, because you hear yourself, because you trust yourself, and because you know yourself, you don't have to do all of this show outside of you. And that's what I want to call it. This show outside of you.
And you just gotta ask yourself what you healing for. Like, what is the real reason you're healing? Like, I feel like like we kind of gloss over that sometimes just as a human, you know what I mean? Like sometimes we get fixated on the whys about everything else, but we can't answer our own whys, right? Like why did you start this? What bothered you? Like what like all of those whys are important. No, it's not why, why the universe was created. No, it's not all that like but they're equally as important. They're equally as important, especially when it comes to your story, your existence, your life. I just feel like healing's not hard. We make it hard.
Facts.
We make it hard because honestly, like we've made our entire existence harder than it has to be. Like if you can just tell your kids to just be themselves the whole time. To just give no shits because you give no shits
Yes.
what people think.
All of
To just be you. Yeah, they may be a little bit, on the outside in the beginning, but you know what? Later on, they're not gonna have nearly as many problems, hurdles, issues
this.
as the people who like were pretending their whole life.
Yes.
But it's like you got to get so solid in you. Because that's really what generational curse breaking is. I don't care what anyone says. It's really you get so solid in you that you don't mind doing something different. That's literally what curse breaking is
Yeah.
in your healing. You did something so different that it was so out of the norm the way everybody else has done it. There's your cycle that you were like, people go, it got to me and it went no further. Fantastic. You just all of a sudden woke up and were like, not today. You can do that in every other area of your life.
Facts.
But you choose to do it with the things that you're solid in, the things that you don't question, the things that you're not like, oh, nope, I didn't question that. Nope, I deserve this. You don't get to talk to me like that. I'm not this, right? Like, you can do that with your journey about anything at any point in time. The rawness about healing is that it's not as hard as we make it. We don't need all the labels. I don't even need to tell you it's your child self. I don't need to tell you it's your teen self. We don't even need to label it. Yeah, we don't even need to label it as your dark night of the soul, as your this, as your that, like as your ego death. You don't need to label it as any of those things. It can just be. But when we put it on a scale, when we mark it, when we compare it to others, when we want to make sure we're doing it right, who the fuck holds the scale for correct healing? First of all, I would love to meet them, shake some hands, take some photos, because it's like I have not met one motherfucker who can tell me exactly what healing is supposed to look like for every single person on the planet. You good, but you ain't that good, right? Some people's healing is 3 months in the biggest deep dive of their life to then need like 3 months of recuperation. That motherfucker falls off the planet just to come back and be like, I'm here and I'm ready for round 2. Like, and that may be no one else's. And then you may have Steady Eddie who just comes on in, Miss Tammy Lou Who, and like literally just like keeps on keeping on and is slowly but surely struggling her bussing her way through her healing journey. And then you may have someone who's like, everything just fell on my head. I'm having a series of 10 tower moments. I lost my home, I lost my wife, I lost this, and this is all coming down, and now I feel like I have to start all over again. It's okay, you're not wrong. I don't know who is judging right or wrong in this instance besides you, but that's what you got to get right with. Because until you die, I don't care what you believe, until you die, you the only one judging you.
Facts.
We can debate the overall arching, judgment of the divine later on. Like, but until you pass through the pearly gates or you go to the tunnel of darkness or whatever you believe happens, it's you. You're the problem. It's you. That's the raw part of healing. Nobody is standing in your way but your ass. Nobody is stopping you but your ass. Nobody can do it for you but your ass. So guess what? The parts you don't want to look at, that's you stopping you. The parts that you're like, oh, it's not important, you stopping you. Like, it's all about you. And people are like, well, I don't want to be selfish. No, your healing journey is where you get to be selfish. Your healing journey is you doing it for you. So if you are healing because you wish somebody else would heal for you, or you wish that, oh, well, if they do it for me, then it'll help. You don't need anyone to do it for you. You don't need anyone to hold your flag. And if you're healing so that the buddy next to you can decide they want to heal too, you're healing for the wrong reason. And it's like, I'm sorry, not sorry. but it's not that hard. You just got to want to do it. And don't start till you're ready.
Yeah.
Nobody is pressuring you. Don't start till you're ready. And some people in this lifetime will never be ready. And maybe that's their divine path too.
Yes.
Why is that wrong? Maybe that's their divine path. Maybe they're there to show everybody what it looks like when you don't. Maybe that's where we all fucking start. Maybe we all start at the I don't have to heal me part, right? We're just going about life. Maybe we start at the unawareness of, right? Great. We're still purposefully there. Our ripple still has an effect. We still have things that trigger others at this by just being us, because in their authenticity, or they're like, I don't got shit to heal. That's still authentic to them. If they truly feel like they don't have a single thing that could be bad or need to be healed, or they feel completely whole,
And
maybe they're not wrong. Maybe they're not wrong in their grand scheme of things. Maybe you're just at a different place in your soul's evolution. Maybe you're just at a different place in your energetic ascension, whatever you want to call it. Give it whatever label you want. Those people aren't wrong. And that's why it's not about saving others. Nobody needs saved. You can lead by example, and the people who are innately curious will be like, I have a question. Why do you look different? I have a question. You seem odd. Can we talk about some things? What do you think? Right? They're good. Like the divine, the God source, your energy will draw to the people close to you who need you, who need your light, it doesn't matter what you do. You could literally be a fucking postman. It doesn't matter. Like, you will find the people in the moment who need you. The guy that bumps into you in the store, all those things. So if you're doing it for the martyrship of being like, I saved my whole flock, like, sit down. Sit down, Moses. We're not going to walk in a desert for 40 years. That was like 1,000 miles long, and we should have just stuck one direction. We got lost 10 times. Like, we don't need to do any of these things. So it's like you heal for you and nobody else. So when you're ready, and if you're ever ready, start. It doesn't matter where the fuck you start. That's the number one question we get. Well, where do I start? Whatever was your trigger to make you go, I need to do this, that's where you start.
That's where you start.
If it's your bad job, if it's your bad relationship, that's where you start. If it's the fact that you can't handle your parents, even though you're grown, that's where you start. If it's the fact that your kids, you don't get where they get their entitlement, that's where you start. Whatever it is, start at what what elicited the thought of you going, I can't do this anymore. That's where you start. And then you can ride the shuttle bus to whatever other destination it takes you, whatever tangent, side mission, whatever you want to call it, whatever kind of video game you want to play, right? It's like, but at the end of the day, start at what triggered you to be like, oh shit. Start there, because that oh shit happened for a reason. Chances are you've got a million oh shits in your life, and that was the one you paid attention to. Right? Because that was your rock bottom in that moment. In that energy, that you were just like, oh, enough of that. It's not that hard. It doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be hard at all. I just feel like the raw part of healing is the honesty of healing. You got to be honest with yourself. And how you're the problem, it's you. Nobody wants to admit they're the problem. But that's the problem. Is that nobody wants to admit it's them. The raw part of healing is realizing that you're the problem and the answer to all of your issues.
Yes.
Alrighty. Thank you guys so much for listening in, tuning in. Thank you for joining us on the Spiritual Roundtable, where we just really get right down in it, no BS, and we just give you exactly what you need to hear. Not always what you want to hear, but definitely what you need to hear. Thank you for joining myself and Miss Keys of Wisdoms 369 for our talk today. And we hope you join us next week, where we have more straight talk coming right your way. And if you are not a member of the website, but you enjoy conversation like this and free knowledge and learning, we have a free tree of knowledge and you should check it out. Become a member. It's 100% free, and you'll find it on www.childofbalance.com. Remember, as you go through this journey, please remember you are to feel your way through everything. Do not stop. Do not make yourself smaller. And always continue to be unapologetically and authentically you, because the world needs more of that.